After a weekend of excitement, we're back for another Game Log Monday. Or is it Game Log Monday? Big T not here just yet. He may be joining us in a little while. We'll keep you updated as his travels are detailed in our text message chronicles. But Run Pure Sports, swing for the fences on a Monday, DC. We've got 10 games. It was an interesting weekend. The Yankees, the Mets just scuffling. The Braves hot all of a sudden. Take 3 or 4 from the Marlins, I think. It's not really going to matter for them. But more interesting is how well the Brewers have been playing, sweeping the New York Mets. And the story for a lot of the next month and a half, 2 months that we have left in the season, I think anyway, is going to be looking at these very, very bad bullpens on every single slate and seeing how we can take advantage of that. And when I say bad bullpens, I mean single A level pitching in some of these bullpens. Guys that would never have seen the major leagues, but for a handful, or at least maybe even more than a handful of teams, just kind of out of nowhere tanking for this season for some reason, not signing any talent, not really trying to compete. There's 10 games, but it seems to me if we just looked at bullpens, DC, I'd have 5 clear spots. I tried to put those on the playbook, even over some of the teams that I think are going to be popular. How was your weekend? It looks like you're at the start of an enjoyable vacation. I hope it goes well, but you're working through it with us on a Monday. What's going on?
Yeah, not much. Happy to be back here on Monday on location. Yeah, northern Minnesota on the shores of Lake Superior. So beautiful part of the country, but we'll be grinding. We'll be grinding here for a couple weeks before football season. And, if I seem a little down, JT, I know you're the same way. We look forward to these Game Log Mondays. I don't even know, without the presence of the big man, Big T, if we can call it Game Log Monday. We got a text message shortly before the show. It's not that he's busy or anything. I can read it here. He says, "No, I'm too scared to face the Austin Gomber music on my recommendation over the weekend. I won't be able to make the show. Don't want to face the music." So we'll trudge on without Big T, but a fun 10-game slate like you mentioned, and ready to dive into it all.
He did say that he looks forward to Monday so much. I will be honest with you, DC. I was looking forward to Monday, maybe more so than usual, after the back and forth that we had with him about Austin Gomber. I've got some other tidbits to drop here, but I was telling you before we came on, he was committed that the Diamondbacks were bad and the Rockies pitchers were going to shove. He said, the Rockies are going to be plus 200 every game. I'm going to bet them all weekend. And I said, the Diamondbacks are clearly going to score at least 25 runs. He's like, no, you go ahead, tell me. I said, I'll put $100 if the Diamondbacks scored 25 or more runs. They scored exactly 25 runs, DC, in part, of course, thanks to a 13-run explosion yesterday. This would have been a good show. And he's depriving you, the audience, the fans, the subscribers, from what would have been one of our all-time great shows. Maybe he shows up. Maybe we don't see him until next week. Maybe Uncle T will kind of guilt him into coming on and taking his medicine. It's very upsetting to me, though.
Very upsetting. And I didn't address your point with the bullpens, but I've been talking about trying to find just little edges, right? In MLB DFS, Obviously it's a projection given sport, but that is one of the areas that I think we do a really good job at kind of diving into the weeds. And I mean, you can see it coming, right? The teams that are bad already that had bullpens, a lot of them traded away any useful bullpen pieces that they had to contending teams. Yeah. And then they call up more guys who are less ready than the shitty bullpen they already had. So we've seen, the worst teams just get worse. They've got no incentive right now to chase wins. So they're sometimes letting younger pitchers that aren't ready get some taste at the big leagues. And especially in an age where the average starting pitcher goes like 5 innings, you got to look at bullpens. I mean, it's half the game, half the matchup. And we'll certainly dive into all that stuff as we go along the slate.
It's going to be big on this slate, and we'll talk through it game by game as we always do. As always, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I don't think this is a free show. I think this is a subscriber-only show. I'm not sure anymore, but if there are people watching who aren't members, use code JBC100KWIN, and you can go ahead and get your free first week off. You get RPS 15 gets you 15% off your first month's payment. And again, keep those comments coming. Bean Air is in here. Love Bean Air. He says, Big T finally looking good on a Monday. That's certainly nice to see. Thank you, Bean Air, for bringing that good mojo. DC's got a screen share for us on this slate as we go through the games, and we'll get right into it here. First game of the slate is in New York, where the Yankees just beaten up by the Astros over the weekend. Now the Minnesota Twins come to town. Zebby Matthews, 7,300 against Will Warren, 7,500 DC. And I did the playbook today, and because of the pricing and because of where I saw some of the, ownership on this slate, I wanted to take a little deeper dive into Zebby Matthews and Will Warren, because on the surface, it looks like two pitchers going in opposite directions. Looks like Zebby Matthews should be having better success than he has been having. And looks like Will Warren has been pitching a little bit over his head. A lot of people are going to see this matchup with the Twins and say, 7,500 Will Warren, of course I'm going to play him. That was why I played a little bit of Berger yesterday, Ryan Berger. He ended up with 22 points, but then you look at Zebby Matthews, and his home road splits are pretty severe, about a run and a half on the xFIP, worse on the road. I don't know what to make of these two pitchers in this matchup, except I will say both of these bullpens have been bad since the deadline. What are you doing here on the first game in Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, Yankees Twins games in general are hard for a long-suffering Twins fan to even look at objectively, right? We had that run in the 2000s when the Twins had a good team, and every time they would just get beat down by the Yankees in the playoffs. So I see these matchups, and my initial reaction, right? My gut instinct is, the Yankees are going to smash the Twins like they always do. But you mentioned it, JT, the Yankees have been awful. They really have not been hitting much. Aaron Judge, he was in a slump before he went on the IL and I don't think he's homered since he's been back, hasn't done much. Don't know if he's fully healthy. Probably is fine, but it's a little bit concerning. Matthews, we see him at, sub 5% ownership on DraftKings. I think that's a fair play at 7,300. He's got some talent. We know there are strikeouts. A scary matchup on paper, I think, for Matthews, but with the way the Yankees are swinging it, yeah, I think a reasonable play. I don't personally like the Will Warren chalk, projected at 20% ownership here on SaberSim, on DraftKings. Just big struggles with lefties. I actually think the Twins left-handed bats make for a somewhat contrarian, cheap stack, right? Warren's been hit hard by lefties. It's a good place to hit in Yankee Stadium with the short porch. And I did look into, speaking of bullpens, I looked at the Yankees. They've got two lefties in the pen. One of them threw, I think, 47 pitches yesterday. He'll surely be unavailable. And the other was in the mid-20s. So potentially no lefties available out of the Yankees bullpen, which puts some of these, super cheap Twins guys, these lefties, even a guy like Cody Clemens, who's got a ton of power, not much of a pinch hit risk here. Larnach, right. The same thing, Edward Julian. So I kind of like these Twins lefties a little bit, JT.
I think the Twins are a little bit sneaky as well. You mentioned, and of course, Byron Buxton back from the IL. So Buxton will be here in this game. So Luke Keeschel hit a walk-off home run yesterday for the Twins. The other thing about this is, I might play some Zebby Matthews, but at some point these Yankees are going to hit. And if they get to Matthews, there's not a whole lot in this bullpen. This is the third worst bullpen on the slate for the last month are the Minnesota Twins. So I'm thinking, maybe a little game stack here. Like you said, some of that lefty power. So that's where I'm leaning. I don't know if I think I probably will be with you and be mostly off of Will Warren here. There's some other pitchers in that range and below that range that on this slate I think are completely viable given the top line pitching that we have here. And if I wanted to go cheaper, I think I would rather go with those options that we'll talk about later than with a Will Warren. All right. Kevin says Devin Williams probably unavailable, so downgrade to the Twins bats. But the rest of the team, the rest of the bullpen, including the new pieces that were supposed to be great, just have not been as advertised. All right, next game in Kansas City, DC. Some rain around Kansas City doesn't look like it's going to impact this game heavily. Maybe there's a delay, but I'm not interested in pitchers in this game myself. It's Cade Cavalli making his second start since returning to the big leagues, 8,500. Bailey Falter got roughed up by the Red Sox last week. He is 6K. We did see the Nationals bats start to come to life in San Francisco. Of all places, James Wood breaking out of his slump. CJ Abrams with a home run over the weekend. This looks like a place where we might see a bunch of runs. What do you think about this game in Kansas City?
Yeah, so I did watch Cavalli's start last time out, his first start back. And he was pretty impressive, the stuff that he was throwing. I mean, he was touching 100 miles per hour. I think the A's were super chalk that day, if I remember correctly, back on the August 6th. You know, he went 4 1/3 inning, just 3 hits allowed, 6 strikeouts. The metrics, a 21% swinging strike rate for Cavalli in that one. He was legitimately overpowering the A's for much of that start. So I'm with you. I don't really want to pay the 8,500 for Cavalli, but you know, Sabres got him at 1% owned. So I do think he's a somewhat interesting play at that number. No interest in Falter for me. And because of what I saw from Cavalli, I think I'm off the Royals bats. Also just don't generally love playing the Royals in general. So I'm fine kind of moving off that quickly. And then, yeah, I don't know. The Nationals bats lefty against Falter, most of the guys you want. I think you can do better on this slate. So I'm not going to end up a ton here, but that Cavalli ownership and just how good he looked in that first start. Also, you know, former top pick, high pedigree guy. Maybe take a shot on Cavalli on one of my 5 DraftKings teams.
8,500 is a steep price. I can't imagine that they're going to push him. That's the downside here. Is like at that price, you need him to be super efficient. He's facing a team that doesn't strike out a lot. But let me throw this in about Washington's bullpen. I mean, they traded away the good pieces they had as well. Mm-hmm. Cade Cavalli, second start back, maybe gets a little bit unlucky with batted ball. And all of a sudden, the Royals, on a night where they're not going to be very popular, could be an interesting team here. And I will play some of the Nationals' power against Bailey Falter here, but it probably will be lower owned, certainly than some of the other spots that I like. So we'll move on and get to the next game, which is in Chicago. It's the only other spot on the slate that has some weather risk, perhaps a delay at most in Chicago, but it's the Tigers heading in to play the White Sox. Chris Paddock at 6,800 for the Tigers. And Elvis Peguero is going to start this game for the White Sox. I think it's going to be Tyler Alexander who is going to face him or is going to come in after him, DC. And that means we got to talk about this from the standpoint of what do we expect the Tigers to do, because you got a righty starting. He's going to be followed by a lefty. That means some of these guys like Ibanez, like Wensil Perez. Well, Perez is a guy that just gets hit for defense later in the game. But Perez, Dingler, maybe these are guys that come out of the game fairly early here against the White Sox. Chris Paddock roughed up in his last start against the Twins. And then one other note here, Paddock's faced the White Sox twice this year, 11 earned runs and something like 6 innings for Paddock against this team. What are you seeing on this game in Chicago?
Yeah, so I'm not sure which way you said it, but the White Sox starting with a right-handed reliever, right? Peguero throws from the right side, and then looks like it'll be the lefty Alexander after him. So I think it's Keith and Carpenter who are the biggest pinch hit risks here. Maybe McKinstry as well for the Tigers. So I mean, I think it could potentially be one at bat for Keith at least. So I'm kind of off those guys, a little bit worried, or very worried about the pinch hit risk, even though the matchup's good. Like, again, I mean, maybe they don't. You know, you never know for sure on that stuff, but it does concern me on a slate where we do have a lot of options. I don't think you can play any White Sox pitching completely off the board for me.
Yeah.
Paddock, on the other hand, I mean, I don't like these plays, JT, when it's a cheap pitcher who I don't like, who I know is pretty bad. That's Chris Paddock. But the matchup is good and they're cheap. So, I mean, I think Paddock is a pretty reasonable play at, 10% ownership. I have no problem with that if you need savings. I did list him on my write-up today. But I like the other side too. I think the White Sox are a fun stack. Kind of throw them in the Twins bucket a little bit, where they're cheap. They got a little power. They're playing with a little bit of pride right now, or more so at least than they have throughout the season. And then, I mean, the main guy there is Colson Montgomery, right? I'm sure you've seen some of his highlights. He looks like he's kind of on that, I'm not saying he's going to become a $6,200 Nick Kurtz, but that's the kind of power profile that he brings to the table against Chris Paddock. I mean, that's a bat that I think you can get in your lineup, but really Montgomery, Luis Robert looks pretty good to me. Even Benintendi's cheap and has hit righties pretty well. So I think you can play Paddock versus the White Sox both sides. I'll have probably one Paddock lineup, and then I think I will have one full-on White Sox stack as well.
So for the Tigers, no Keith in the lineup. It's Torres, Carpenter, Perez, Torkelson, Green, Ibanez, Dingler, McKinstry down there at 8, and Javi Baez in the 9 hole. And then a couple of notes here. You wouldn't expect it, but over the last month, Detroit's bullpen, the second most home runs per 9 innings allowed for the Tigers. So that's where the White Sox have been doing their damage. They haven't been putting up a ton of runs, but most of those runs have been coming via the long ball. So certainly going to remain in the pool. Yep. And maybe a little bit over the field on those minis. Lenin Sosa had another home run over the weekend. So maybe a spot to look for, especially if we see that the ownership on Paddock is going up, which would be wrong, in my opinion. Yeah. We'll move on to the next game. This game in Milwaukee. We talked about the Brewers earlier, how great they have been. They get the Pirates now at home. Andrew Heaney, 5,700. Jose Quintana, 7,500 DC. I put Quintana on the playbook and said it's mostly about the matchup here against the Pirates. They have been hitting a little bit better of late, but it's still the Pirates on the road. What are your thoughts on this game in Milwaukee? I think they make for a great stack against Heaney and this Pirate bullpen.
Yeah, I did not write up Quintana, but looking at this matchup, probably an oversight on my part. There's a bunch of pitchers that I like today. We'll go through them, of course. But I'm with you. I think Quintana absolutely makes some sense. Pulling up this game on Saber right now. 12% owned for a $7,500 Quintana against the Pirates. Obviously, one of the very worst offenses in all of baseball. Quintana, he's a better pitcher, I think, than the likes of Chris Paddock, the likes of Miles Michaelis, who gets the Rockies. And the matchup's almost as good. So, Quintana, I do think makes some sense as a kind of mid-tier value option. And then the Brewers, man, I mean, I still think they go – I've been playing them a lot lately. I think they go overlooked on most slates compared to what they should be. I think there's a number of reasons for that, but the biggest one, they don't really have like a true star in their lineup. I mean, Christian Yelich is the closest thing they've got, but, he's not obviously on the level of the Judges and Otanis of the world. So you just see this team go a little bit underowned, and man, hitting for more power recently. The addition of Andrew Vaughn has been huge. He's got a good matchup here. Matchup is good against Heaney. Matchup against the bullpen is good. They run a lot, so you've got that upside as well. I'm with you. I think the Brewers make a ton of sense and probably go lower owned than they should be, like they do most slates.
All right, next game is that game in St. Louis. Chase Dollander at 5K going to start this one for Colorado. Big talent, but he hasn't looked ready for the major league level thus far. Miles Mikolas, as you mentioned, 6,300. I think it's a good spot for Mikolas. He pitches better at home. He gets the Rockies. You look at the Rockies statistics and you say, well, they don't hit terribly, but a lot of that, of course, comes in Coors Field. Did have a decent weekend in Arizona, but I'll play some Mikolas here on this slate. And if Big T was here, I would have asked him if it was just an easy plug and play with Dollander at 5K. However, he's not. So we won't be able to ask him that, DC. Cardinals look like they're going to go under-owned for this spot against the Rockies bullpen and a young pitcher who's just not figured it out yet. What are your thoughts here on the Rockies and the Cards?
Listen, if he was willing to play Gomber, he might as well have been willing to play Dollander here at 5K.
Exactly.
So you never know. We'll check out the cores. Maybe he'll surprise us with a Chase Dollander sighting. I'm with you though. No Dollander interest for me. I think pretty easy cross off. And I'm with you on Michaelis too. I mean, somewhat reluctantly. I think it's very similar to the Chris Paddock play. They're both, close to the same price, 6,300 for Michaelis, 6,800 for Paddock. Both mediocre pitchers, low strikeout rates, but you get this matchup, right, against the Rockies. You mentioned for Michaelis, too. He's way better at home pitching in this stadium, always has been. And, yeah, I mean, this Rockies team, they've given up by far the most 25-plus games. And I'm not saying Michaelis is going to get 25-plus, but if you look at starting pitchers' performances against the Rockies, especially on the road, it's just gem after gem. Throwing in some game logs, not Michaelis's, but pitchers against the Rockies. That's what you're buying here with Michaelis. Sounds like you like him a decent bit more than Paddock, JT.
Yeah, my initial lean after I finished the playbook, I was looking at it again. I said, I probably will fade Paddock for Michaelis, and then there's one other I'll play. He's a little bit more expensive, Quintana, and then there's a guy later that I think is in an interesting spot that's not going to get any ownership, and I'd rather take those chances on this slate because, again, we have some top-line pitching that we're going to talk about here over the next several games that I'm very interested in. So I'm not looking at, pairing any of these guys together necessarily. It's more of I'm going to play them with one of the top-line pitchers. So I think, if you put them straight up, Michaelis over Paddock, same matchups in 10 games, I would say Michaelis gets the better of that matchup 7 out of 10.
Yeah, and I mean, Michaelis is always going to feel like a trap.
Yeah. I think Paddock is a little bit more trappy than Michaelis. I mean,
I agree. Give me Michaelis over Paddock if I'm choosing between the two. I do agree with you there.
Yeah. Offense in this game. Thoughts on the Cardinals?
I'm not really planning to do it, but I really have no objection against it, given how bad Dollander and the Rockies, their bullpen. It's just even outside of Coors Field, any team can just start stringing together hits, walks. They'll throw their, position players if it gets out of control, which it seems too often. So, yeah, again, not my favorite play, but no objection to the Cardinals and the Rockies too. I mean, I think they're an okay play against Michaelis if you're not on the Michaelis train.
If you're not, look, when we say we're on the Michaelis train, what I mean is 10%, 15%. We're not going nutty here, but I do think it's a good enough matchup. He's put up some 25-point scores at home. And one other thing that I'd like to point out, also, I like to do this. Who have teams been playing? Who are they playing now? The Cardinals get the Cubs over the weekend. Now the Rockies come in. I mean, you're seeing Cubs pitching, and then all of a sudden the Rockies come in. Imanaga last night. Yeah, I'll take the Cardinals here in this matchup. Certainly a pretty significant downgrade in the type of pitching they're seeing. All right. Uncle T looking to 5-man the Rockies. Good luck to you, sir. We will. Uncle T can now go fuck himself. What's this? We can move on. Yeah. 15 minutes. We talked about him for 3 minutes. All right, next game on the slate.
He was upset we besmirched the good Niehaus name with our Big T talk at the start of the show.
Hey, look, I'm upset he's not here. We would have been worse. It would have been worse if he was here.
Very true.
Next game on the slate is Arizona coming off of a weekend series where they scored 25 runs against those Rockies, against the Rangers. Nathan Eovaldi, 10-2. Ryan Nelson, 7,700. DC Eovaldi, I mean, outstanding so far this season. He's been great. Last 6 starts, over 20 fantasy points. Estimators suggest he's going to have a bad game at some point. His xFIP and his Sierra are almost 3 runs higher than his ERA. But it's hard to argue with the results here. Now he gets the Diamondbacks, who just faced the Rockies at home in the big park in Texas. I'm off of Ryan Nelson. Probably will play Eovaldi even with the field as of right now. And I like the Rangers in this matchup, DC. That Arizona bullpen has been terrible since the break. What are you doing with this one?
Yeah, I think the Rangers make some sense against Nelson, who I think he's pitching over his head a little bit too. Not an arm that I'm at all scared of playing against. And yeah, Arizona, one of those teams that, they sold everything at the deadline. Naylor, Suarez, some relievers. They've had a bad bullpen and injuries in their bullpen all year long anyway. So yeah, Texas, I think another sneaky stack. I think honestly, this slate feels one that you can kind of, I like to hone in on a few teams and a few pitchers, but this one does feel one to me where you can kind of spread it out. Some good contrarian stacks. I would throw the Rangers in that mix. And yeah, Eovaldi, I mean, you can't argue with the results at all. There have just been start after start, getting the job done, pitching at home here. Like I didn't want to play the Rockies pitchers against Arizona, but I do want to play good pitchers against Arizona for sure. And Eovaldi, I mean, he's been as good as anybody, I should say. Obviously, some pitchers have been on his level, but he's been as good as anybody. I personally think pitching at the top end is kind of flat. I think there's 4 good options. I think all the expensive guys, Crochet, Eovaldi, Yamamoto, and Webb are all, I think, pretty good plays, but I see them all somewhat similarly. I know that's, maybe not what people want to hear, but I do think Eovaldi isn't a pitcher you want exposure to. Saber got him 25% here. Feels fair to me on Eovaldi. I don't know if I want to, I don't think there's a need to really take a huge stand on those top end arms, but for me, Eovaldi's got to be in the mix.
All right. Any Arizona for you against Eovaldi?
Yeah, Steve asking about Carroll. I think these are the types of plays that I think are almost always good plays. I do think a 1% Corbin Carroll is in a vacuum a good play. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And actually, looking at the top end of outfield, there's not that many can't miss matchups in my opinion for these guys. So yeah, I think on those types of slates makes more sense to take a contrarian option like Carroll. That said, I wouldn't go crazy with the Diamondbacks. I'd keep it to 1 or 2 man stacks for the most part.
Yeah, definitely not going to play a ton of them in my mix either. All right, next game is in Houston. The Red Sox heading into Houston. Garrett Crochet, 11-5. Christian Javier making his return from the injured list. He is 8,300 DC, built up to, I think it was 77 pitches in his last rehab start. And he gets a Red Sox team that's been hitting the ball well. And then you've got Crochet at I think it's his highest price point on the season, 11-5. Astros only a 21% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. We know that Crochet is matchup proof. The question is, at this price point, what happens if he doesn't get into the 30s? All of his big games, his upside games, have been against weaker competition. Cannot say that the Astros are that. What are you looking at in Houston?
Yeah, like I said, I like Crochet, but he's priced way up there, 11.5K. He does hurt your builds a little bit, I think, compared to the other aces. And I do like the other aces as well. So I'll probably be close to the field on Crochet. So 32% feels a little high to me. I do think a little bit of a price discount and ownership discount to guys like Yamamoto, Webb, Eovaldi makes some sense. That said, I do want exposure to Crochet. I will have him on some lineups. The matchup against the Astros, it's not perfect, right? It's a super right-handed heavy lineup that the Astros obviously prefer to face lefties. Crochet, of course, though, good enough to shut down any lineup if he's on his game. So kind of neutral on Crochet compared to the field. What about the Red Sox? I think I might have overlooked them a little bit against Javier, who, if you're people, that have played in the past, it's been a while since we've seen Javier.
Yep.
He did have some really good stretches, right? A pretty good strikeout guy. He throws a ton of up in the zone fastballs. He also gives up a lot of power, a ton of fly balls. This is his first start back in a long time. And if you look at what he was doing in his minor league starts, he wasn't pitching horrible, but he had 4 walks in each of his last 2 outings in just 66 and 77 pitches. If he's going to be wild, along with the propensity to give the long ball, he's also given up 10 steals in 5 starts in his minor league rehab. I think this Red Sox team, I might have overlooked them a little bit when I was researching before, but I think they've got some serious upside. Get ownership here. Yeah, they're growing on me a little bit. Curious your interest in the Red Sox. Looks like they're going to be, at least according to Saber, pretty low owned. So yeah, I think they're pretty interesting here.
The Sox team total has risen, a combination of Javier being out quite a bit, being not great when right before he went on the injured list, and then you've got that bullpen, which outside of Josh Hader has been very hittable. So I like the Red Sox here. Red Sox are going to be one of my teams that I'm going to play more than the field tonight.
Yeah.
And probably, I mean, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with Houston, but I will say this. Over the last month, the worst bullpen in baseball, it's not the Rockies, it's Boston Red Sox. This team's been giving up a lot of runs late in games, and Houston's been hitting the ball very well.
I got just a weird hunch that Crochet is going to give up a couple bombs today to Houston. I don't know.
I think so too. My lean what I wrote on the playbook is I'm going to leave him in there for the upside, because the 45-point upside that he had against Tampa Bay, that's always there, right? But this spot on the road at his highest price point against a team that's playing well, even got Carlos Correa hitting now. I like this game for offense. I wish
the Houston guys were a little bit like the one-offs, like 5,200 for Altuve. I kind of like him, but man, it's kind of a hard price to pay.
He's been on fire. He's been on fire over the weekend in New York. Now they head back home. So, all right. Next game is out in Los Angeles. The Dodgers. Tough weekend against the Jays for these Dodgers. Now they face the Angels. Yoshi Yamamoto, 9,900. Jose Soriano, 7,100 DC. When you look at the estimators for these pitchers, in particular for the expensive pitchers, there's nothing concerning with Yoshi's profile. Everything is right in line. His xFIP is Sierra, in line with what he's given up. The strikeout rate is in the high 20s. This team, the Angels, they have some power. Yoshi doesn't give up a lot of power, less than a home run per 9 innings on the season.
Yep.
The Angels striking out 28% against right-handed pitching. I think Yoshi's going to be the guy that I play most out of the high-priced pitchers on this slate. What are your thoughts here on the game in LA?
I'm with you on Yamamoto. If I have to pick just one pitcher, he's the guy for me. I think he's got his strikeout floor seems really nice against this Angels team. He could give up power, but like you said, that's not really an issue for him. And then he's the guy, JT. I think even if Crochet has a ceiling game, right, and gets 10 strikeouts, Yamamoto's the pitcher that I feel most likely could match him anyway. So not that you couldn't pair the two, but I do like Yamamoto with the price discount. He'll be owned, but in my opinion, he should be higher than these other guys. And it looks like he'll be in the similar ownership range. Yeah, 32%. So similar to Crochet. I'll take the price discount with Yamamoto. Like him a ton. Not going to play Angels bats against him. I just, even his bad starts aren't typically, slate winners. So off the Angels, I do like the Dodgers though. Against Soriano, who I've definitely played my fair share of Soriano. I think I played him last time out against Tampa. Did not go well. And we've kind of seen that from him. There's a lot of really strong games on his ledger. There's a few blow-up starts too. He is a guy who can get wild. He is a little bit hittable, can run a little bit on him. And, of course, the Dodgers have a great lineup, even if they scuffled a little bit over the weekend. I do mostly want the lefty power here, specifically Ohtani. And I keep mentioning him every show, but Max Muncy. Price is still cheap, 3,100. Stay on the Muncy train. The production's going to keep coming with him. But, yeah, Freeman looks pretty good at a reasonable price point. And the Dodgers, they can do it to anybody. Good place to hit in Angel Stadium. I think the Dodgers, I assume they're pretty low on pulling that up here. Yeah, it looks like outside of Ohtani, you'll get most of these guys at reasonable ownership. So I'll be in on some Dodgers stacks for sure. They're expensive, but I think the upside's worth it.
If you take away the numbers and the pricing on the most expensive pitchers on this slate, you just looked at matchup. Yamamoto clearly the best matchup out of either of those 4 pitchers here. No significant home road splits either for Yamamoto. Pretty much a consistent pitcher no matter where the game is. And you mentioned Soriano. As the season wears on, that strikeout rate has come down. Walk rate has gone up a little bit. So maybe a little bit of fatigue potentially setting in here for a younger pitcher. All right, 2 games left. Anyone with questions other than Uncle T, we will entertain, especially pronunciation questions. There's plenty of other times to talk about that. Logan May knows that I think you were looking at maybe Muncy from the A's. Muncy 4,400, which is still pretty cheap for a guy who hits a couple of home runs every other game, it seems like. So we'll move on, though. Next game is in San Francisco. Padres heading in to play the Giants. Yu Darvish, 6,600. Logan Webb, 9,700. DC, again, did a deep dive here. Darvish was massively owned last start out against the Diamondbacks. Disappointed. I like Darvish at this price point in this park. 6,600 goes a long way on this slate. I kind of expect the Padres to win. Don't think it'll be a higher scoring game here. But when I looked at Logan Webb, estimators suggest he should be getting better results than he has outside of his last two, which were dominant games against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But his numbers are a little bit inflated. He does his best work against teams that are among the weaker in the game, and he has struggled big time with offenses that are even mediocre and above. He's struggled even at home. I think I'm completely off Logan Webb here. It sounded like you liked him a little bit. Talk to me about why and what else you see here in this game in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's just the home park thing for Webb. He's been so good at home, always has been. And I do like him a little bit, but he is fourth for me among the top end pitching. He's behind Yamamoto, Eovaldi, Crochet, Webb. I have it those four in that order. That said, looks like we're going to get a pretty significant ownership discount on Webb down at 10 to 15%. At that price point, if he fits, I don't have a problem using him. But again, he is my fourth option among those guys. Yu Darvish, I mean, it's hard to know what to really think about him. He's made 6 starts this year. He's had the brilliant one, right? 2 starts ago against the Mets. He's been pretty bad, honestly, in the other 5 starts. So 5 out of 6, he's been disappointing. It's just a price point in the park. It's hard not to like him some. Kind of a different story, I think, than Paddock and Michaelis, right? We kind of know what those guys are. Where Darvish, we've seen him be brilliant in the past, and certainly for the most part, not so much this year, obviously getting up there in age and injury and all that stuff. But I do like him some at 6,600. How do you rank those 3? It sounds like Paddock is last for you, but Darvish, Paddock, and Michaelis, I think those are the 3 cheap options worth playing. Did I get that ranking right for you based on kind of your comments?
Yeah, I do think it's that way. I think it's Darvish, Michaelis. I'm not sure if I'm playing Paddock. The other thing to think about with Paddock too, DC, is the way that Detroit manages their pitchers. He's going to have to be pristine in order to get like 6 innings, right?
Yep.
I know that Michaelis is going to throw 100 pitches unless he gets absolutely demolished, which it doesn't happen to him at home a lot. I know Darvish is going to pitch at least into the 6th inning, as long as he's pitching well. Yeah. Plus, you have the good park there. It just seems to me that I'd rather take chances with those guys than a guy that I think Detroit knows is kind of like a twice through the order guy at best.
I think you're right. I think you're talking me onto more Michaelis and Darvish in expense of Paddock. That all makes sense to me. I trust him the least to go deep into the game for sure.
Yeah. All right, last game on the slate here. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Looks like the Milwaukee lineup is out. Bryce Terang leading off. That is good news because that's a lefty-lefty matchup. And that means we'll see Bryce Terang for the whole game. But Brewers been doing a bit of pinch hitting themselves here, particularly at the third base spot with Durbin and Siegler. So I'm imagining that Durbin is in there. Still like him in this matchup against Heaney. But this game in Sacramento, wind is expected to be blowing out. It's warm in Sacramento, and it's Tampa Bay. And the Athletics, Ryan Pepio, 8K in this park. Jeffrey Springs, 6,900 for Springs. And I wrote up the Rays. The Rays are going to be popular. You play the teams in these parks. That's generally what you do. And then I looked, and man, they've got a near 30% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching over the last month. Spring's still under 7K. This is where I think the trap may be, though, just the way that spring season has evolved. Still a good pitcher. I just don't know if I want to go there on this slate. And the A's now, super, super expensive for the guys that you're going to want to be playing, DC. But They do have the same team total as the Rays and only a fraction of the ownership. What are you thinking in this game in Sacramento?
I don't think I'm going to end up with a ton of this game either way, but it's always nervous. If you don't have this game, you got a good team, and you got Sutter Health waiting to run you down with home run balls, which can break out at any point in this game. It is the best hitting environment on the slate. I don't think I'm playing Pepio unless you talk me onto him. I hadn't been planning to play him. Springs, I mean, seeing some love for him in the chat. I think he's kind of boom bust here. I could easily see him getting shelled by the Rays, but like you said, the strikeouts could be there for him. He's a decent pitcher. The price is good. I don't know. I think I'm out on Springs, but I don't think he's the worst play. I do like Darvish and Michaelis better than him in that 6K range. So not going to end up there. For people on him, yeah, I could see it. I could see it with Jeffrey Springs. Just probably not going to be for me. I will mix in the heart of that Rays order. Diaz, Caminero, and Kim all look good to me, swinging from the right side against the lefty Springs. And then, Kurtz, I think, is the best play. No surprise against Pepio, but I'm not going crazy here with either team.
Yeah, Pepio just at that, it's the price point more than anything else. Like if he was really cheap, then I'd consider him against a team that's free swinging. But again, the Rays, he'll get to 100 pitches. Usually he'll get around there, but he's not going to get much more. And the price point just makes it hard because you want to play the top end. And if I'm playing the top end, I'm really not interested in pairing an 8K guy with those guys. Same reason I'm off of Cavalli. And as far as Jeffrey Springs, there's some regression coming. The batted ball in play number, lowest here on the slate. And that's usually a sign that there's been a little bit of luck. He has been very good, but I do think that bad start is coming, and that bad start could be tonight against this powerful Tampa Bay offense. A lot of home run power going into this park. And then Springs, of course, giving up so far 12 home runs on the season at home. So that is everything. That is the slate. We'll now talk a couple of different things, talk about who the most important pitcher is going to be to our success. Although it sounds like it's the same, DC. If your answer is Yamamoto, give me another guy that's going to be pretty important for your success on this slate.
I will be joining you with Yoshi Yamamoto. I think he is the single best pitching option on the slate. But for my other guy, we'll roll the Michaelis dice today against Colorado. 6,300. I do think he's the cheapest viable pitcher, and I do like some of these bigger bats today. So Miles Michaelis, I'll be hoping he can be one of the many pitchers to solve this Rockies lineup. And 15 or so for Michaelis, I think would be enough at that price point. I think he's got a decent chance of getting there, JT.
Yeah, I think you get the win. I think you're likely to get the win bonus as well here. So we'll take 20. You get more than that, that would be fantastic. So I'm with you there. And then I'll add that I'm going to be playing Yu Darvish more than the field. He's 5% projected ownership. I'll probably play him in the 10 to 15 range. Jay Sakemi, how many pitchers do I keep in the pool for 150? It's dependent on the slate. This slate, I'm going to keep 3 of the 4 expensive pitchers, so I'm probably not going to play Webb. That's just going to be a call that I make here tonight, at least as of right now. And then a little bit of Zebby, and then Michaelis, and then Darvish. So I guess that comes down to 7 or 8 pitchers. There may be another 1 or 2 that I sneak in there once I run the sims and get everything working, make sure that my mix can actually generate enough lineups for me that may put me on another pitcher or 2 just at a low percentage point. But that's going to be the bread and butter here. DC, give me the offense. It's going to be most important to your success tonight.
So I do really like the Twins lefties. I mentioned the matchup against Warren, who's been hit hard by lefties. The park is good. They're cheap. They're low owned. And I'm guessing no lefties available, or maybe just one out of the New York pen, which reduces the pinch hit risk on these guys, which is part of the problem with playing the Twins most slates. So I think the Twins are sneaky. The Dodgers are the expensive stack that I like against Soriano. I'm with you. I kind of think he is. I think he's going to struggle here against the Dodgers. I really do. I think they're going to get to him. And then I wasn't really on this earlier, but talking through the slate with you, the Red Sox have really grown on me against Javier. Long time off, hasn't looked good in the minors. Didn't look good before he got hurt. Can steal bases against them. And Houston bullpen outside of Hader, who they're obviously not going to see if the Red Sox put you in contention. That bullpen's been pretty rough. So give me some Red Sox bats in this one.
Yeah, like the Red Sox. Agree with you on the Twins, particularly the power hitters from the left side. I'm going to be playing a lot of Brewers. I'm my main lineup may or may not have a bunch of them. I mean, keep in mind, DC, by the way, I didn't mention this during the breakdown of that game, but William Contreras had done nothing for like 6 weeks. Now he's hit 3-4 home runs in a 5-game span. This is one of the streakiest hitters in the game. And you want him against bad left-handed pitching. He gets Andrew Heaney on this slate tonight. And, William Contreras may be one of the best plays on the slate overall. With you on the Red Sox. And then it disgusts me. It really does. But I just think the Rangers are great plays on this slate against Ryan Nelson in this Arizona bullpen. They got swept by the Phillies over the weekend. Phillies are a tough out. Phillies in the National League East probably going to end up waltzing away with that division. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. Man, you get the Diamondbacks come in, that's a significant downgrade in competition. I do think that the Rangers are going to be a team. I'm seeing 4% ownership on them. Maybe Seager is the only one that gets a little more. I'm going to play the Rangers pretty heavy tonight and hope that I'm right and this matchup goes the way that it should. Week 27-day matchup. Do I start Pete Crow Armstrong or Jurickson Profar for the week? I don't know, DC. I haven't looked ahead to the schedule. My gut tells me the Braves, I know, go into Citi Field for a 3 or 4 game matchup. Not sure where the Cubs are. Not that the Mets have been a tough matchup for opposing hitters by any stretch of the imagination. You got to lean on that Profar or PCA for the week.
Well, first of all, JG, you must be in a good mood today. I didn't think you'd be answering season-long baseball start-sit decisions during the show. So, listen, I'm gonna, you always convince me on some plays, but I'm gonna dial my lineups a little bit more to where the JT's leaning because you're feeling good. I can tell. In terms of the question, I have no idea. I have not looked at the matchups beyond today. So, sorry, Bill, I don't have a lot of advice for you. But PCA would be my initial lean, just given the talent levels of the two players.
Yeah, lean PCA. I'll answer anybody but Uncle T at this point. Now it's just stubbornness. We're not going to give in to you. Maybe I'll talk to you after the show. I'd probably like Profar is. I don't know. I mean, Mets pitching has been pretty bad. I still would probably go with Crow Armstrong, although it's tough. I would, ask an expert. Ask someone who plays season long a lot as opposed to the 0 season long lineups that I have. DC, do you have any season long lineups?
I do, but I don't have Profar or PCA, so I don't know who they're facing.
Right. So it doesn't matter. All right. One way to decide that, Bill Madison, there's projection sites. Go ahead and check out the projection. But the matchup there, if I knew who the Cubs were playing, I'd be able to give you a better answer. Okay, that does it. We're done. DC, you got anything else you want to share on the slate?
We could pull up pick 6 quick.
Oh, let's do that. Let's pull up the pick 6.
All right, I'll get it screen shared here if you give me a moment.
All right.
All right, there it is. Let's look at some strikeout props, JT.
Let's do that.
5+ strikeouts thrown here. Got any strikeout leans?
Oof.
There's our guy Michaelis over 4. No.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Wow, this is disgusting. Go back to the top here.
Let's go hits, runs, RBIs.
Yeah. Cody Clemens, you like?
Yeah, give me some Clemens. He's on the board. Scrolling through here.
Javi Baez, I put on the playbook. Why don't we do him? Javi Baez.
Baez, always down for some Javi Baez. That looks good. Ooh, I do like the White Sox.
Sosa, I put on the playbook as well.
Sosa, I love the Sosa call. Let's look at some home run props here. People love the long ball.
They do.
Alex Bregman, perhaps back
in let's do Alex Bregman.
The friendly confines. Yeah, I like the Bregman call.
Astros wouldn't pay him. Keep going.
Caminero, Diaz.
Yeah, let's do Caminero. Let's do Caminero.
I like Caminero too. Just an absolute beast. We need one more.
Give me Seager. Corey Seager.
All right.
Yep.
Let's look at Seager's props. Let's pick the best one. There it is. That's not working. All right. Well, I can't get Corey Seager to pull up, but
okay.
Yeah, what's all right? We'll pick a different one. Home runs. Contreras, 2.2x?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Contreras, a guy we both really like. So we got Contreras and Caminero and Bregman over home runs. Sosa, Baez over hits, runs, and RBIs, and Clemens as well on the hits, runs, and RBIs. There you go. There's the pick six for today, JT.
All right. Uncle T is congratulating you on a great show, DC. So, whatever.
Appreciate that.
All right. JVC 100K win gets you your first week free. RPS 15 gets you 15% off your first month. As far as I understand it, both codes will work at the same time. The playbook is up. Core plays will be up here as we approach the slate. Big T's platoon page is going to be up. The slate builder for JBC and the crew will be up. And we will be in Discord answering all of your questions for the slate. If you're not a member, go to runpuresports.com and join. For DC, I'm JT. Good luck in your contest.